Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Singer 354 Genie servicing video. In part 1 I showed how to remove the panels, clean and lubricate the working parts of the machine, and fixing a couple of problems I came across along the way, such as the hook timing was out, the needle bar height was out, and I had a little cam follower that was seized there. In this video I'll go through some cosmetic cleaning, clean the plastic panels and whatnot, put the panels back onto the machine, assemble the machine, and we'll see how well this beautiful little retro looking Singer Genie from the 1970s performs. Okay, let's get right to it. We'll try and get the light on. There we go. I think that's a serial number faintly stamped onto the bottom side of the base here. So you can see there I've done my best to clean it up. I'm not going to get really fussy at this stage. These scuff marks here, these black sort of scuff marks, try what's called a magic eraser on that. This here is magic eraser, and it's like a foamy type substance. I've used them on my retro computers that I collect, and it seems to do quite a good job. Not sure if it'll work here, but let's have a look and see whether it deals with the stubborn mark here. Oh yeah, look at that. It's coming off slowly there. Nearly gone. There you go, that's working pretty well. Okay, so I'll go around with the magic eraser here and get these scuff marks off. Looking pretty good, quite yellowed, you can see it there, can't you? Looks like, the sunshine's been getting in under the machine here, but not around to the back here. Yeah, I could retro bright that. Retro brighting, I think I mentioned in the previous video, it's a method where you dip the plastic part into and soak it in, I think it's hydrogen peroxide. It's used a lot in the retro computer circles where the plastics that get affected by the sun, it's a flame retardant called bromide that's put into the plastic. And the heat from the sun, as far as I know, it's either the heat from the sun or the UV, causes this sort of yellowing effect here. And it can be reversed with the hydrogen peroxide. It's a diluted hydrogen peroxide. You soak the part in the diluted hydrogen peroxide and leave that in the sun, and that reverses, funnily enough, it's ironic, but it reverses the yellowing process and puts it back to the original colour. Sometimes it takes a few applications. I don't do it with my machines, and I don't do it with my retro computers either. Yeah, I just put up with the yellowing, really. So that's looking pretty good there now. Okay, that's the base done. Okay, time for the front panel here. There's the front cover done. It's looking pretty good. A little bit yellowed down here, but it's come up pretty good. Rear cover. Okay, while I'm here I must remember to oil this bobbin winder here. I think it was fairly stiff. I'll just get a little bit of oil. I don't want much, just a very small amount of oil. Just enough to get in there and lubricate that bearing surface there. That may need just working in a little bit. A little bit more oil maybe. Oh yeah, I can feel that freeing up there now. Okay, and carry on with the cleaning here. Quite a big scuff mark here. I've already had a go cleaning the top of it just here. But yeah, this magic eraser is doing, wow, it's magic. It's dealing to that nicely. Look at that. Scuff mark gone. There we go, back cover done. Just need to get down into here. These parts are always quite hard to clean. Yeah, that's getting it there. Yeah, it's looking pretty clean. That's good. You can see a very small indentation here where it's been, something's been dropped on it, or it's possible that this machine's just been looked at as though it's an old piece of junk at some stage, unfortunately. An old piece of junk that is a very good sewing machine. Better not forget the slide-on case. That's the front cover all cleaned up there now. It's looking pretty good. Just one other little piece to do, and that's the face plate here. So there we go, that's all our plastic parts cleaned up, ready to put back onto the machine there. Okay, now that we've got the service done, I thought I'd do the after comparison for the before and after. So let's have a listen here and see how fast the machine's running now. Sounding better, I think. And faster, I think so. It is again, it's very, very cold here again. A good frost this morning again, So this, machine's, it's pretty cold still. I haven't really got the room warm enough to, warm this machine properly. Just wanted to get a little bit more grease on this slider here, this one, that slider there. Let's start putting the machine back together. I'll start with the front panel. Newly cleaned front panel. There's a bit of dirt there. Just a few little finishing touches there. Right, now slip that on there. Is that clean? I'll get the magic eraser, just finding little imperfections in the cleaning. So just have to work it over this reversing lever there, and it's holding that out. Yep. Let's get the screws in. Now these are a stepped type screw, so they tighten down but they don't clamp the plastics tightly, they just hold them in place. So that saves any risk of over tightening and splitting these little plastic pieces here. Tweezers would help there. It's a black screw, that one, and those other three they're just like a metal steel screw. Just slip that in there, screw that up. That sits in behind the rear case there. Oh, big blob of grease. Grease on the nice clean machine. Better not forget to clean the star of the show here. Give that a good clean. Doesn't that just make the machine, I reckon, nice and bright in your face? It's great. Okay, just slip that onto into position there. Just sits there like that, and then install the tensioner here. So we'll put that back in, and I'll show you, I'll try and get a closer view of actually latching in this little pin here. So I'll feed the unit in here, and then we've got this little end piece on that pin there. I'll feed that through the hole, and I'm just going to pull the pin up, and I'll get you a better view of how this is looking from behind. And I'll put the tensioner on 0 just to help with hooking this little piece over here. Not sure if you'll be able to see it from that angle. So hopefully you can see this okay, but there's a little hole with a slot in the bottom of it there. That's where the pin drops in. If we just lift the pin into the hole there, you can see it's in there. It just drops down like that. There's a little cutout in the plastic here, and that is where this little tongue here locates. So you just turn it until it allows the plastic cover to locate into there, and then you just go ahead and tighten the set screw here, just push the barrel in as far as it'll go, and then tighten the set screw there. I'll just show you the tensioner here. So we're looking top down. You've got the tensioner wheel here. We're set to 0 at the moment. So the whole idea of this is that this bar here applies pressure to this pin in that direction, and that applies pressure to the discs in here. So the more pressure pulling in this direction towards the rear, this here, the tighter the tension, and that's determined by this bar here, and that's connected to a fulcrum point here, and then another bar which is connected to the little cam over here on the tensioner. You'll see that working. So as I increase the tension there, you'll see this bar actually engage. It's got no tension on it at all at the moment. So that's at 1 there, 1 tension. So it's just pulling slightly on here. As I move the tension up, you'll see this pin here drives this lever here across like that. And now if I just sort of pull back on here just to, yeah, that's the tension, that's on 5. That's, you know, pulling fairly firmly there. You can see the spring, this is the main tensioner spring here. And then we've got a adjustable grub screw here with a lock nut, and that is your calibration there. So if I go right up tight, you'll see this lever come along here. That's loose, that's tight. So that's up right tight there now. And yep, that is very hard to move, this plate here now. So it's pulling very tightly on this pin. So we'll put it back. So you can see that action there. And effectively it's changing. So on the, what you can't see in here is there's a little, this plate here sort of juts out to the inside here, and it basically forces pressure on here. So it's changing the fulcrum point here. So as it comes across here, it's coming along here and forcing more pressure on here. So quite an ingenious little design there. And then, yeah, don't forget to put the little clip back on. Just slide that. I've set the tension down to 0 to make this easier. So the little fork here goes to the front of this bar, and then you should just be able to push that gently on there, and that retains the clip down into that little slot there. Time for the back cover. Now when putting the back cover on, make sure you pull the little post up, because it'll jam on the back of the machine. It'll stop you from pushing the back cover right in close. We talked about this here being loose earlier. That actually, there's 2 screw holes here, and that's what these screws go into, these 2 screws. And these 2 tongues here, see these 2 sort of tongue pieces here, they slide in underneath, on top of, sorry, this shaft here. So they slide in over here. That should just slide on there. Just nicely like that. Press it, yeah, just make sure the presser foot lifter bar is up there, and that should just nicely slide on there with no troubles whatsoever, and it should be sitting nicely up against the back of the main chassis there. And then it's just a matter of getting our screws back in. So we've got the pointy screws here. I'm not going to tighten those up all the way, just get them started. And then this one here down at the bottom here, we've also got this one over here on the right hand end at the bottom there, and then just this last one here for the back cover. So when you're putting the last screw in, you can tighten that up there, like that. Now you may also notice that the screws, they have a step on them, a little step here, and that allows you to tighten the screw sufficiently without putting strain on the plastic that it's clamping. It's just holding the plastic in place. So, you know, it's quite a good idea, because then you don't have those problems with over tightening. And so now we can go ahead and tighten all the screws for the back cover. Fingerprints on it. Oh no. Then we can go ahead and put the faceplate back on. Oh, getting pretty close to doing the old test here. Oh, I'm seeing dirt. Problem is, quite often when I'm getting into the close stuff, I'll be using this magnifier here, and it magnifies all the dirt and bits and pieces. So when you end up seeing bits of dirt close up, it is tempting to go ahead and clean it even further. Yeah, oh, yeah, need to stop. It's, you know, it's pretty clean. Rightio, now let's just put the base on. I'll tip the machine back here. Base goes on like so, and we've got the 4 rubber feet. The screws are looking a little bit rusty and grubby there. Yeah, probably could clean those up, but they're actually sort of quite tightly jammed into this little foot. It's quite common to see these little feet deteriorate and perish. I'll leave that at this stage. I'm not. You can get replacements of these. These are sort of a browny colour. The replacements, the modern replacements, are black. So, you know, if you wanted to keep the machine as original as possible, you'd want to try and retain these feet. So I'm not going to sort of go messing around with them too much at this point. I don't want to over tighten them either. They may have little steps on them, but yeah, I'm just aware of sort of squashing the rubber if they don't. They don't need to be hugely tight anyway. Okay. Yeah, looking pretty good. I think we can swap out the pillowcase again. got to make it look pretty. Look at that. Right, ooh, looking good. Pity about these screwdriver marks here where someone's tried to prise the case open. But, you know, it's still a neat looking little machine. It's still in pretty good condition. Rightio, let's put the bobbin case in. I'll just give that a bit of a clean. That's looking pretty good there. Now the key to installing these is there's these two little fingers here, and they go around this little locator here, that little bump up there, and underneath this here. So we'll just put that back in, and this little piece here, just make sure it goes down under this. So the case should sit flat. Just like that. So the radius of the case matches the radius of the inside of the hook race here. Just like that. And then you can bring this little lever back, that's the little retainer. Just push that as far as it'll go. We'll raise the presser foot there. And now it's just a matter of putting the plate back on, the throat plate, or otherwise known as the needle plate. A couple of needle strikes there. That should really be cleaned off with an oil stone there. If there's any sort of gouging inside the throat plate hole there, that should be cleaned out with an emery cord. So emery cord looks like this here. I use this Mitchell's. That's an emery cord there. So you would, you know, clamp this in a vise and feed the emery cord through, and then you go ahead and draw the cord back and forward through the hole just to smooth it out really. And I use an oil stone, you know, like it's kind of like a file really, and I just smooth out those needle strikes there. It's not 100% perfect, but I just thought I'd show you quickly that. There, I'd probably spend a bit more time cleaning that up there. You know, it's pretty good there. I would probably also buff that with a buffing wheel there to, you know, shine that up. But that's looking pretty good there at the moment. Before I go putting the plate on, actually, it might be a good idea to show you this, putting this plate here on. This is the front edge here with a little finger indentation there. So just make sure you know, bring up your presser foot there, or the presser bar. Bring the needle up as high as it'll go there. And then you put the plate forward of this spring here. You'll probably find you have to just lever the spring up just a little bit. You don't need much, just to hook it in under the little channel there. You just need to just get that one in there, and then do the same on the other side there. Don't bend the springs up too far, they don't need to come up very far at all, and then just slide that back and it should just pop into position there like that. Okay, and then to put the plate back on, I'll just come across here. So line up the slot here with this post here, and then just slide it sideways like that, and then just let the other side drop down onto that pin there. And then we get the presser foot here. It's a fairly standard Singer arrangement. We just put the foot onto the foot bar there with it facing towards the inside of the machine, and you'll see a slot here that goes around the mounting screw there. Let's just bring that around like that and tighten the thumb screw up there. Just a quick note on the needle is installed with the flat to the back, flat surface here. Try not to hit the needle point on anything metal. If you do hit the needle on a metal piece, it's probably a good idea just to throw the needle away and start again, because it does damage the needle point. And then so once you've got the needle into the hole there, you just make sure it butts right up against the stopper there. Hold it up against the stopper and tighten up the needle set screw there. And now we're ready to wind a bobbin. Hopefully the bobbin winder's all sorted now that I've lubricated it. Here's a bobbin here. Quite often you'll see I'll, you know, just out of, well, not really just laziness, but just to, you know, make things a little bit quicker to record, I'll quite often just wind thread over the top of existing thread that's on the bobbin. I know that's, you know, it's not ideal, but you know, the reasons you wouldn't do it would be that, you know, if you wanted to get a full run of thread onto your bobbin of a single colour, you know, the more that you can get on the better, so you'd want to take this extra thread off. If you're just testing a machine or whatever, I don't really see a problem in just winding a thread over the top like that. So you can just sit the bobbin onto the bobbin winder spindle there, just using a standard spun polyester thread here. Pull the spool pin up, come across to the bobbin winder tensioner there, and if we have a look on the manual here, you'll see that the thread comes around the front of the tensioner, around behind in a clockwise direction, and then off to the bobbin here. And you can see that they've threaded the thread through the whole of the bobbin. You know, you're probably best to thread it through before you put the bobbin on, so let's just do it the way they suggested. So what they're suggesting is, we'll get some thread here, you thread through the, yeah, see, it's difficult to do when you've got thread already wound on because the hole is obstructed. Yeah, so there's another reason you might want to take the thread off. Yep, let's do it. There we go, and there's another colour. So you can see it's quite a common thing that people do. There we go, clear bobbin there now. Sometimes when I'm servicing a machine and it's a reasonably specialised bobbin, I'll find, you know, there might be 5 or 6 colours wound onto one bobbin. It's a right pain to unravel them all. So yeah, sometimes I get a little bit lazy. So yep, just put the bobbin thread through like that, and then put it onto the winder there. Thread comes from the spool around the front and behind like that there. We can start winding here. Let's engage the bobbin winder there. There we go. And I would probably at this stage trim this thread sticking up here. You don't really want this tail sticking out. You really want to trim the thread as close to the top surface of the bobbin as you can. Just trim it off like that, and we're set. Yeah, the bobbin winder rubber, you can hear it's quite noisy. I probably should have replaced that while I was in there. That's normally something I would do when I'm servicing a machine. So that's really just a matter of removing the rear cover and removing the old bobbin winder rubber and installing a new one. And it should automatically stop when the bobbin's full. And you can see that the bobbin's not quite full there, so you'd adjust the little stopper just by loosening the screw there and letting the little lever come back out towards the hand wheel, just to allow a bit more thread to get onto the bobbin there. Ooh, yeah, just about went too far with it. It's really full now. Probably okay there, as long as it doesn't get so full that it won't drop into the bobbin case. You know, that should be fine. You want to have it so that the thread is inside the outer diameter of the bobbin there. If it's too full and thread comes out and overflows, or just sort of bulges outside of the diameter of the bobbin there, that'll cause a couple of problems. One is you will have trouble getting the bobbin into the bobbin case. You can pull a bit of thread off before putting it into the bobbin case. That's one way around it. But by rights, this should be set correctly. The other thing that can happen is the bobbin thread will overflow and drop off the top or the bottom of the bobbin. If it drops off the bottom of the bobbin, it can end up wrapping around the bobbin winder shaft there, causing a bit of a tangle. So there we just break the thread, cut the thread, and then we're ready to drop it into the bobbin case here. Now, threading the bobbin case is a matter of having the bobbin so that the thread, when you pull the thread off it, the bobbin turns anti-clockwise like that there. If we have a look in the manual here, this is why it's always a good idea to have your manual. You can find this one online, I think. So they show there that the bobbin wind is a little arrow here and it's pointing anti-clockwise, and then you bring it down into between your slots. I'll show you that close up here. Drop the bobbin in, and then you want to come into, so you'll see there's a little slit just here. You want to bring the thread into there and then pull it around to the second slot here, and then bring your thread over sort of out to the right and to the rear there, and then you can bring your slide plate up here. So there's a cutout in the front of the slide plate here, and that allows just a little bit of room for the thread there so that it doesn't get trapped between the slide plate and the throat plate there. And then it's just a matter of threading the needle, and there's also a handy little threading diagram on the inside of the slide cover there. We have a look at the manual here. We come from the spool to the first thread guide, that's this one here, and then down, it's showing a close-up here of going down under the little thread guide on the tensioner and over the top of the tensioner between the discs, and down over the spring, and pull the thread in the direction of the arrow, and then that clips it under the second thread guide on the left hand side of the tensioner there, and then this is how it should look in the end here. And then you come down to this guide here, up over the take-up lever. Make sure that your take-up lever is in its upper position there when you're threading, and then down to this guide here, and then the last guide before going through the needle is on the needle bar. Oh, actually there's two thread guides on the needle bar here. You've got the upper one and the lower one here, and then thread through the needle. So let's just take a close look at that. Take the thread out of the bobbin winder tensioner there, so just straight under that guide there, and then under this guide here, over the top of the tensioner here. So bring it over like that, and then down, pull the thread right down and across that way, and you would have heard a little click then. That was the thread flicking over the other thread guide here. That was it flicking over this little thread guide in here. This is called the check spring, and that's the motion that you'll get when you pull the thread down. And the next one is to come down and just hook it underneath this thread guide here, back up to the take-up lever. The take-up lever, if you come down just a little bit, it gets to the right angle where you can just put the thread over the top of the take-up lever, and then if you pull it forward, then it flips into the hole in the take-up lever there. And then we come down to this eyelet here, pull the thread from the right side to the left through into the eyelet there, and then you've got the next eyelet here. Just come from the left to the right, just like that there. You just pull the thread in from the left hand side there, and then it's just a matter of threading the needle front to back. Pull the thread through. Now we're ready to draw up the bobbin thread. The key to drawing up the bobbin thread is to hold the thread in this particular machine out the back and turn the machine one full revolution in operating direction. And the starting point for this is the take-up lever at the top. So just looking side on here, so we've got thread coming out the back, and we turn one full revolution, Just down like that, back up, bobbin thread will come up just like that there. Easiest way here is to just grab the bobbin thread, pull that out from under the plate there, and you'll see that the bobbin thread's actually coming up through the presser foot hole there. That's not really where you want it when you're starting off. You want to bring both threads forward here, and then you'll see there's a slot in the presser foot here. Bring the threads down. So yeah, just bring the threads through that slot there. And so both of your threads should be coming out the back like that there. So pull the bobbin thread, that's nice and smooth. Tension feels about right. Okay, time for the big test here. A piece of fabric here. And we're set to straight stitch. Stitch length is just setting that stitch length to 3 there. Let's have a go here. Yep, looking pretty good there. Yep, tension looks okay. Looking pretty good. You might be able to hear that's quite rattly there. I think that's this bobbin case just rattling a little bit here. There's probably a little bit too much clearance between the bobbin case on this side here and this metal plate. There's an adjustment for that. I won't go through that today. That's a separate issue really. I'll leave that for another video. Yeah, although this is a plastic bobbin case, I'd be tempted to put a bit of oil in there as well. I mean, you know, some people say you shouldn't have to, but I find it quietens machines down quite a bit, even with the plastics there. So let's try that again. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Yeah, it's okay. Yep, I'll adjust that a little bit. But yeah, it's sewing. That's one thing. It's sewing quite nicely there. Yeah, so that's it pretty much for this one. I thought this was just going to be a single video, but when I was editing the video up part way, I realized that it was going to blow out to be an epic. So I decided to split it into 2, as you know. Yeah, I hope you found that helpful with the tearing down and servicing of the machine and cleaning it all up and making it look nice. I think it's definitely worthwhile on a machine like this here. I really like it. It's colourful, it's got personality, lots of personality and character. That's what I like about it. Yeah, it's nice to see these old machines up and running again, isn't it? Keep an eye out for more videos on this machine. There's a couple of little things I'd like to go through, such as, you know, maybe tightening up that bobbin case slightly. I noticed a bit of noise when I'm winding a bobbin. I think that's related to this area here with the clutch, you know, the stop motion clutch there. I think that needs lubricating properly, so I might go through that and do that. I think I also mentioned that maybe I'd do a video on pulling apart one of these tension assemblies and completely cleaning it, deep cleaning it. I don't think this one needs it, but who knows, I might do a video on that as well. So keep an eye out for more videos on this model. We've also got the Singer Starlet too. I'll do a video on that. There's no real need to go through and do a servicing video on this one. They're very, very similar machines. So I'll probably just go through, maybe do a comparison between the two models there, just a close-up comparison. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the channel, take a look at patreon.com/sewing machines. And of course, thank you all for watching.